You may have heard about data mesh. Is it just the newest buzzword in a long line of data buzzwords? Or is it the legitimate new architecture for all data projects? Let's break down what it is and where you can apply it. And as usual, how to know when people are using it because it sounds smart, but they don't really know what they're talking about. The current data analytics architecture generally includes data producers on one side, such as applications, departments generating data, or other domains that produce, in some form, data for the organization. And on the other side, there's the data consumers. This could be report writers, department analysts, data scientists, operational needs, and leadership. In the middle, there's almost certainly an understaffed, overwhelmed data engineering and analytics team, frantically trying to prop up data lakes, data warehouses, and building an ever-growing web of pipelines to meet the data demands. This can be broken down to a few core problems. First is data as a monolith. Data lakes and warehouses are centralized, monolithic structures. They almost inevitably become too large and complex to easily maintain. Old tables and views get left abandoned, file naming shifts and governance lapses occur, procedures get built on top of each other until no one remembers how data gets from staging to reporting. In the application world, microservices have taken prominence to deal with monolithic applications. In a microservice, applications are built as interconnective, single-function modules. If one module becomes obsolete, it can be removed, rewritten, and rebuilt without affecting the other modules. Second is pipelines and ETL are fragile. Some pipelines are well-defined and the data moving through them is consistent and reliable. But often that's not the case. The demand for data is always shifting, and the timeframes to build it are short. Sources are unreliable, business rules are changing, and the limits of dynamic pipelines are pushed to try to accommodate for unexpected data. The result is a complex web of processes that often take a lot of babysitting or they fall apart. And on top of that, they're difficult to scale. And last is that the centralized team of data experts are often expected to also be the experts of the domain data. Despite not building an application or working with the data daily, they have to learn exactly how it works. They aren't accountants, but they need to be in order to answer the report writers' questions about the ledgers. Or maybe they need to study logistics to properly build out that data mart. This is where data mesh comes in. To be clear, it's not a tool or product, though there are some starting to use the term data mesh to jump on the train, as data products love to do. Data mesh is more a philosophy or a theory to drive architectures. It's a significant shift in thinking how data should work in a company. The first shift is the idea that domains own their data as a product. So let's say your organization has an HR platform that produces employee data. HR now owns the HR domain data, and it's a product for the company. This is a huge change in thinking. Most HR don't view themselves as a product team. They don't consider themselves of owners of datasets that they need to provide for the rest of the company. Now, the HR domain may include several data sources. Let's say there is a recruiting app, a benefits platform, and a payroll application. The HR team will manage all of this data and generate datasets to be consumed by other users in the company. They will also own the governance of the data in their domain. And then the same will be done by other domains around the company. In addition to the data generating domains, there may still be a need for analytics and aggregations of data, and these could exist as their own domains. So let's say an analytics group gets data from the HR domain and the sales domain. They aggregate the data from both to generate a dataset for bonuses based on employee performance. This dataset is then produced and made available to those who need it, like back to HR to pay out the bonuses. The next big shift is where the engineering team comes in. Their focus is no longer on pipelines consuming data, modeling data, and becoming knowledge experts in the domain data. Their role is building and supporting the infrastructure needed for all of these domains to produce and share their data. And this could vary based on specific needs. For example, the data engineering team sets up the infrastructure. In this case, a data lake, along with metadata for governance and cataloging what datasets are stored. From there, domain teams are enabled to produce and put their datasets into the data lake storage. The metadata layer will include things like access controls and possibly a key mapping to help integrate between the domains. From there, the team builds out a reporting or processing layer with things like Databricks, R, or Power BI, and it will be up to the users to find, access, and analyze the data as they need. The engineering team will be there to manage the infrastructure, but not get involved in the data. The result is a decentralized storage, but with a centralized infrastructure. and decentralized ownership, but with centralized governance. And there are company-wide standards for interoperability between domain datasets. Now you might be saying, this will never work. And you might be right. This seems to be aimed at companies that understand data as a product, probably built with tech-minded people. I'm thinking about working at a bank where the program managers barely knew how to use Excel, and then expecting them to generate Parquet files and automate loading them into S3. I imagine if your organization has a highly centralized IT that handles all the tech for the company, it would be hard to decentralize data. But if it's a tech-savvy company where departments tend to implement and manage their own data-generating platforms, and where the demand for data far outpaces what an engineering team can handle, then data mesh might be an approach to consider.